Earth is home to about 3 trillion trees, spread across more than 60,000 species, living on every continent except Antarctica. At first glance, trees might seem fragile in the face of environmental change. After all, they can't just move if the climate no longer suits them. But the truth is, trees have been around for nearly 400 million years. They've survived all 4 mass extinction events since their origin. Their ability to break down rocks, form soil, capture carbon dioxide, and release oxygen is what made Earth a place where humans could eventually thrive. For centuries, foresters, poets, and even lumberjacks have celebrated trees. But actually, understanding them has always been a challenge. If you compare trees to animals, they don't seem to have much in common. Trees don't move, they don't have blood, lymph, or nervous systems, and they only need sunlight and water to produce their own food. Some can live for thousands of years, growing slowly taller and wider. One famous Great Basin bristlecone pine is more than 5,000 years old. Even in forests, trees often appear as solitary beings, but scientists have discovered that there's far more going on beneath the surface. Instead of just looking up at the canopy, we now know the real action is happening underground. While our eyes and ears catch birds and squirrels filling forests with sound, under our feet trees are communicating, sharing resources, sending warnings, and passing down information across generations. This hidden network allows forests to function almost like a single organism, reshaping how scientists think about tree evolution. Is life for trees really just about competition, or is it about cooperation? On Earth, mutualism, organisms helping each other, is everywhere. Think of clownfish finding shelter in anemones, which in return get nutrients from the fish. Or cleaner wrasse eating parasites off reef fish, helping them stay healthy. Bees gather nectar while unintentionally pollinating flowers. These partnerships shape ecosystems, but one of the most widespread and ecologically important symbioses is almost invisible. The partnership between plants and soil fungi back in 1885, German botanist Albert Bernhard Frank suggested that plant, roots, and surrounding fungi were working together. His idea was dismissed at the time, but in the last century nearly all of his claims have been proven right. Today, we know that these plant-fungi relationships, called mycorrhizal associations, are found in almost every ecosystem on Earth, from deserts to tropical forests. About 90% of all land plants are connected to some type of mycorrhizal. Fungi network mycorrhizae are fungi that grow in association with plant roots, forming a symbiotic relationship. The most common type is called arbuscular mycorrhiza. Their name comes from the Latin arbuscule, meaning little tree, because the fungal threads actually penetrate plant root cells and form tiny tree-like structures inside them. This is how they interact with plants and share resources. Another group, ectomycorrhizal fungi, work differently. Instead of entering the root cells, they form a sheath around the roots and grow between plant cells to trade nutrients. They connect with fewer plant species than arbuscular fungi, but their partners include many of the world's most economically valuable trees, especially those used for timber dot. Even though these two fungal networks come from very different species, their roles are surprisingly similar. They both collect water and nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen from the soil, elements crucial for plant growth, and deliver them to their tree partners. In return for all the nutrients fungi provide, plants pass back between 4 and 20% of their photosynthate, the sugars they make during photosynthesis. This trade is the foundation of every forest on Earth. Without it, life on land as we know it might never have developed, but in recent decades, scientists discovered it's not just a one-on-one partnership between an individual tree and its fungi. Trees themselves are actually connected to each other through an enormous, intricate underground network. The first real clue came in the early 1980s. Researchers planted pine seedlings side by side in a lab box, then inoculated their roots with mycorrhizal fungi so they could form an underground fungal network. To track resource movement, they exposed one pine to radioactive carbon dioxide, allowing it to photosynthesize and produce radioactive sugars. Then they placed photographic film against the side of the root box. If sugars moved between the trees, the film would reveal the path. When the film was developed, the results were clear. The radioactive sugars had traveled through the fungal network from one tree to another. This discovery, that trees might actually share resources, posed an evolutionary puzzle. For centuries, scientists thought trees survived mainly by competing. Trees grow tall to grab more sunlight, spread their roots wide to capture water, and those that fall behind usually die. But if trees can cooperate, sharing food and nutrients, it challenges long-held ideas about how they've evolved. This question caught the attention of researcher Suzanne Simard. In one of her early experiments, she focused on nutrient exchange between Douglas fir and paper birch, two species that often grow side by side, competing for space and light. She planted fir, birch, and cedar seedlings together. To track carbon flow, she labeled the birch with radioactive carbon-14 and the fir with stable carbon-13. That way, she could tell if carbon moved from birch to fir, or the other way around. The cedar seedlings acted as a control because cedar forms arbuscular mycorrhizae, not the ectomycorrhizal type used by fir and birch. If cedar roots ended up with labeled sugars, that would mean the carbon leaked directly through soil, not through the fungal network. Then, she covered the fir seedlings with a shade tent to limit their photosynthesis. If the trees were connected through a mycorrhizal network, the surplus sugars from the birch should flow into the struggling fir. And that's exactly what happened. The more shaded the fir became, the more carbon-14 it received from its birch neighbors. The cedar seedlings, meanwhile, showed no trace of either isotope. Further studies revealed that fir and birch not only share carbon, but also nitrogen, and that resources can move in both directions depending on the season and conditions. This creates a feedback system where each species can support the other when needed, keeping the entire community healthier. But sharing food isn't the whole story. Other experiments show plants also send warning signals through fungal highways. In one study, caterpillar-damaged tomato plants triggered defense genes in untouched neighbors within 6 hours. Those primed plants produced enzymes that stunted caterpillar growth. There's even evidence that trees recognize relatives and send more resources to family members. Together, these findings reveal forests as cooperative networks, not silent competitors. Still, cooperation benefits trees too. Without neighbors, gaps open in the canopy, overheating the forest floor and leaving trees vulnerable. By helping one another, forests stay stable, resilient, and better for survival. Suzanne Simard's research shows that mother trees, the largest, oldest trees, act as hubs, sharing carbon and nitrogen with seedlings. A single mother tree can connect to hundreds of others, but logging often removes these giants, weakening the whole network and making forests more prone to disease and insect damage. Simard's work suggests we should manage forests as connected systems, leaving mother trees intact to maintain underground exchanges. Their seeds also link quickly into the network, boosting survival. Old-growth trees help reduce carbon loss and strengthen resilience against climate stress. Healthy, connected forests resist climate change better, bounce back from disturbance, and stay more diverse and productive. This knowledge could also reshape agriculture, since most staple crops partner with mycorrhizal fungi. Supporting soil health could cut fertilizer use and lower farming's environmental impact. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the science topics you'd love to see next.